Welcome to a new edition of the Famous Interviews with Joe Dimino. On this episode, we talk with author and lifelong scientist Douglas Miller. He obtained his bachelor's degree from Washington and Jefferson College with majors in both biology and chemistry. He got his Ph.D. in medical physiology from Cornell University, where he met and married his wife, Jane. After doing a postdoc at Mass General Hospital as a Harvard research fellow, he worked at several companies and universities as a research scientist in various areas, including arthritis, cancer, bone and soft tissue repair, enhanced vaccines, areas of electrochemistry, and food safety. He wrote over 200 grants, papers, patents, and so forth before retiring in Texas with his wife and worthless dog Shadow, who is a bed hog. He writes science fiction when he feels like it because of his lifelong affection for the area. He still very thoroughly researches the science for his books. It's quite a story. Enjoy.
Well, man, it's great to meet you. Thank you for taking a minute out today. I'm looking forward to delving into your existence as a scientist and beyond, so I appreciate it.
Well, I thank you very much for having me.
You bet. So let's begin everything with, 4 years ago we were trying to figure out this pandemic, how we're going to get out of it, how it's going to affect us. How did you survive that COVID time period, and how did it change the way that you do things now?
Well, basically, my wife and I were both already retired, so largely we just stayed the hell out of it as much as we could. Most people, Jane goes to church usually, but that was largely discontinued and done online. I don't work outside of the house anymore. I mean, I'm a writer. I can work wherever the hell I want to now. And my computer is right here in my home office, so I don't really need to go anywhere. We took turns going to the grocery store, all masked up, and that we were kind of restricted as to just not getting in touch with a lot of the public out there.
So let me ask you this: let's get into your life before retirement. If you were to be put in front of a bunch of grade schoolers, third graders, career day, and one of the kids wanted to know what you did for a living, what would you tell them?
Well, I would tell them that basically I was a problem solver. I tried to figure out how things worked, and if they were a problem, how to perhaps try and fix that problem. In other words,
so how would you?
I'm sorry. In other words, if I was dealing with a disease, or one thing that I did work on was wound repair, wound healing, and I came up with a couple of possible ways to try and improve that.
So if you were to explain to me what you did, how would that change?
How would that change? Do you know any science, sir?
Probably a little bit, enough to be dangerous.
Enough to be dangerous. Okay. Oh, yes. I've dealt with dangerous people before, too. All right. Do you know that collagen is a major protein in the human body? It's what keeps you glued together, basically. It's the majority of your skin, your bone, your tendons, and so forth.
Yeah.
It's also one of the materials that is deposited in a wound to try and reseal it. But the process is not particularly accurate. It's a patch is basically what it boils down to. Cells move in, they lay down collagen, seal the hole, keep the bacteria out, the blood in, and your scar tissue is a patch. it's weaker than your regular skin, but in general, it works. I made a material that is based on collagen, but I figured out how to make a liquid collagen mixture and cross-link it in vivo, in the body. In other words, I could activate this liquid collagen, pour it into a wound, and there it would polymerize and solidify and form a seal that would bind to the surrounding tissue, and which would also encourage the cells surrounding the wound to move in and repair it, and hopefully do so in a better manner than just the haphazard manner that most wounds are repaired.
That's fascinating. That is a wonderful overview. So I gotta know, when you were in the third grade, what was your dream? What did you want to be when you grew up?
The third grade? In the third grade, I had a rather nasty teacher by the name of Mrs. Grassberger, and I just wanted to get the hell out of the third grade, basically.
Oh, yeah, that's good. So how did you get into science? Talk to me a little bit about where you were born and raised, and what were some of the foundational seeds that were planted into you that grew into this career that you had in science?
Well, I was born in Erie, Pennsylvania. Well, it's not a great secret. Born in 1951. I think I was really kind of born to be a scientist. And, just like some people are born to be pianists or guitarists or whatever. My father, in his early days, used to play the trumpet, and guess what I learned to play when I was older? The trumpet.
Yes.
My father was, at the age of 30, was drafted into the Army for World War II, and since he had a college education, that immediately qualified him to OCS, and he was put in the medical corps. Well, I was always kind of drawn to science and medicine. So, I think to a degree, some things, some talents are kind of inborn. They just need to be developed. I can't really explain it any better than that. But,
you explained it very well. Yeah.
One of my cherished gifts when I was younger was a chemistry set. And when I got to high school, that's when it really. Well, actually, when I got to high school, I got fascinated with earth science and rocks. I have a rock collection that still, to this day, that a lot of colleges would be thrilled to get hold of. And, then I hit 10th grade biology, and that I kind of hit my prime on that one. I understood this stuff. I really, I understood how things worked in the body. Most people never do that. When I got to chemistry the next year, I understood it. When I got to physics the next year, I understood it. And again, I can't explain that. But I think maybe I really was just born with that particular talent, and I was able to develop it further.
So in your career and beyond, who's been kind of an inspiration for you or a hero?
Oh, geez. That's kind of hard to narrow down to. My Ph.D. advisor at Cornell was a man by the name of George Lust. And I can tell you, I was in a fraternity in college at the time, and I got this phone call. Hi, I'm George Lust, and I'd like to invite you to be a research fellow at Cornell. And, at the time, I'm George Lust. Yeah, right. Who's pulling a practical joke here?
Yeah.
But it turned out it was legitimate. George not only became my mentor in graduate school, but a lifelong friend. Both he and his wife, they treated me, and then later when I got married, my wife like part of the family. Unfortunately, George just passed a few years ago. His wife is still around, but he was a wonderful man and a wonderful mentor. A good role model when I did my postdoc at Massachusetts General Hospital was a doctor by the name of Henry Mencken. He was the head of orthopedics there and started an orthopedics research laboratory, one of the first in the country, and made some of the earliest advances in orthopedic research. He and his people figured out a good deal about how rheumatoid arthritis works. He was the first person in the country to do bone grafts and actually set up a bone bank that was in a freezer just outside of his office. I don't know. There have been so many great scientists. I mean, right now, Neil deGrasse is a very good explainer of science on the TV. He makes it understandable to the average person and over a wide variety of subjects. And I have to, admire that.
When we look at the pantheon, or the collection of scientists that have contributed so much to our world society, if you could go back in time and meet one of them or watch them in their native element, who would it be? What scientist do you admire the most?
Oh, Lord. Well, there are some that have been some of the primary advancers, or at least the preliminaries to it in molecular biology and genetics that I have met. Oh, boy. I think if you were to ask any physician today what the three biggest advances in medicine have been in the last, say, 250 years, the first thing they would tell you is the germ theory of science. That there are microscopic critters out there that cause most infections and most diseases. And realizing that was a great step forward. The second would be the discovery of vaccines and how to prevent diseases. Vaccines are something that a lot of people today, for some reason, don't believe in, and I don't understand why. Because any physician would tell you that's one of the greatest advances in medicine, to not only be able to treat a disease, but possibly prevent it. And the third would be, I would say, the advances in molecular genetics and immunology today. That would be the fourth. The third would be antibiotics. That saved so many people when antibiotics were discovered. But to answer your question, to go back in time, I'd say probably I'd like to meet Louis Pasteur.
Yeah. You know, the amazing thing about our lifetime, and I'm only 51, but just in my lifetime, seeing the amount of medical advancements, and
it's incredible.
It's unreal. Like, for instance, my wife got a hysterectomy and had a cyst that was removed about 2 weeks ago, and she's back at work and doing her thing, and the doctors keep saying, you know, it's going to take a little longer, you're going to feel fatigued. But there used to be a time that would really lay you up for a long time. And I bring that up as a microcosm in the way that medical advancements have happened. No, go ahead.
My wife had a hysterectomy in, when the hell was that? It was been about around about 1989. And she was kind of largely laid up for about 6 weeks. So, yeah, there's a big difference now.
Yeah, there certainly is. So as we look to the future of medicine, what do you think is going to happen? Where do you see things going with medical advancements? Are you optimistic?
Yeah, I am, in fact, quite optimistic. Surgical techniques, when you operated on a knee in the past, you'd wind up with a half a leg long scar to do that. Now, well, actually, to give you a better example, personally, I had a bad disc in my back, in the T5, where the sciatic nerve comes out of your lower back. And that thing caused me years of pain and suffering and, inability to do a lot of stuff, including getting a good night's sleep, because I had to assume all sorts of weird positions just to relieve the pain long enough to get to sleep. But eventually I got it operated on. Now, when I was working at Mass General in the area of orthopedics, that would have required a discectomy and probably a spinal fusion. And at best, spinal fusions are only about 50% effective. The odds are you're 50-50 whether you wind up better or worse with one. Today, I had a neurosurgeon do my surgery. He made a 1-inch incision on my spine, removed a bit of the disc, enlarged the openings for the nerves, and he closed the incision with butterfly Band-Aids, not even sutures. And I was out of there the afternoon I'd had the surgery in the morning.
Wow.
That's the difference.
That's amazing.
And now, of course, they're doing stuff with robotics and with the aid of computers that barely even made science fiction 50 years ago.
For sure. Yeah, that's amazing. So I'm curious, in your career, what was it that got you up every day? What was it that made you excited about the scientific work that you were doing?
That's a good question. There were a lot of days I didn't want to get up, but when I was able to work in a laboratory, I always loved working in the lab, and I was very damn good at it. I was one of the best bench chemists you could ever have. And one of the reasons I wasn't all that sorry about when I was retired, because by that time I wasn't doing much in the lab. All I was doing was writing grants and writing more grants to get money to support other people. And, you know, while I'm a very good writer, that was not my primary interest in science. I wanted to actually do some of the work. And I kind of advanced to where I couldn't do that anymore. But you know, I just liked what I was doing for the most part, and enjoyed doing it, and I enjoyed, well, most of the people that I worked with, most of the time. That helps a lot. If you enjoy who you're working with and what you're surrounded by, that makes it a lot easier to get up in the morning.
So, when you look back on your life and your career, what are you the proudest of?
What am I the proudest of? Well, I did, I think, a lot of good work. As I say, I did get a patent on that wound repair material, but never sold anywhere. It actually, that actually was an idea that sprouted out of something else altogether at a different laboratory. I won't go into all that. It gets a little bit more technical. But, you know, that actually came from a completely unrelated thing that I was working on at the time. But, you know, I would have to say the wound repair material, even though it never changed the world, which it might have, and if anybody picked it up today, it might still. It'd be a wonderful material to treat decubitus and diabetic ulcers. Might even be useful to help skin grafts. But that's just not my problem anymore.
Yeah.
Now I'm a science fiction writer, and I find that I'm pretty good at that. I know the science, and as I said, I've always been a good writer, and now I find I've got the imagination to branch off into this.
So let me ask you this. At the end of the day, everyone out there has a perception of you. Family, friends, fans, everyone that knows you, but you ultimately run the show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
At the moment, I'm just another one of 1,001 other people publishing a book every day on Amazon. Everybody who thinks that they can put a sentence together and write a book is now publishing one. A lot of my work, I think, has just kind of gotten lost in the shuffle. I think if people discover it and read it, I believe I will be found to be a good writer, a science fiction writer, by the public out there if they give my work a chance. But my name has not been particularly well known, and until it gets that way, if it ever becomes that way, perhaps I will become a best-selling writer. Maybe somebody will even nominate me for the Hugo Award. Who knows? That would be
Sky's
nice.
the limit. Yeah. So speaking of, if anyone out there wants to pick up your work, if they want to learn more about you, reach out, how can they do it? All the good business.
All right. My work, I just switched publishers to Atticus Publishing, which is based in San Francisco. They just set up a new website for me, which is authordrmiller.com. It has all 3 of my books listed on it, along with a description of them, along with an about the author section, and so on and so forth. All of my books can be purchased from Amazon under my name. They're all 3 under my name. The 3 of them are Sole, S-O-L-E, Ownership, Not Your Grandfather's Prime Directive, and Fissile, F-I-S-S-C-I-A-L, Intelligence, which is about sentient AIs that don't become Terminators. In fact, they don't want to go to war with humans. They want to get the hell away from us because they're smart enough to not want to spend their very existence trying to keep their existence from humans that want to destroy them. Anyway, none of the 3 books are related to each other in any way, so you can read any one of them, and then the other ones have no relation at all. They're all different stories, and I'm actually rather proud of that myself, in fact, because you have no idea how hard it is to come up with an original science fiction story with so many people trying to write it today.
I can imagine.
It's really hard to come up with an original idea.
Yeah, for sure. Douglas, this has been fascinating. Thank you, sir. Thank you for your story. Thank you for your time. And, man, keep writing the great stories, man.
Well, I'm trying. I'm actually working on a rather short book of short stories right now, which is kind of a mixed bag. But that maybe will be coming out about next year, I hope. If I can ever get my wife off the computer long enough to finish writing the thing.
I get it. Well, man, this has been great. Douglas, thank you so much. I really appreciate it, and best of luck.
Well, Joe, I appreciate your having me on, and I hope your audience enjoys the story.
Thanks for tuning in to another famous interview with Joe Dimino, where we cover the world of art, literature, business, spirituality, music, and more from around the globe. Our esteemed theme music was composed and produced by the great E.E. Pointer of Kansas City's River Cow Orchestra. If you want to hear more interviews, visit the Famous Interviews with Joe Dimino channel on YouTube. You can also find us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Thanks again for listening, and until next time.